Hello. Good afternoon, I think. Oh yes, 1 o'clock. Just gonna get some time. See how many of you guys are gonna join. There are 1 or 2 things. All right. Hey guys. Please use the chat room, or please type in the little box. You should be able to hear me. I think that you can. Should be set up properly. It's the first time I'm doing this, so don't know. So say something in the little chat if you can. I'm going to type here, can you hear? There is a slight delay. I think it's about 10 seconds or so. Well, let's see. Yes, okay. Hi, Stephen. Thank you for joining. All right, so yeah, thanks for coming. It's a bit, the lighting is a bit hectic in here because there's a big window, so I look very dark. But anyway, whatever. I guess that doesn't really matter. The point of today is to just go through some charts with you guys. And just do some technical analysis on them. If you have any charts that you want me to look at, then please let me know and I will gladly do so. I was long the Aussie until a little while ago. Yesterday we got stopped out of this trade. We were long, we made like 100 points. It's a bit disappointing. We were about 1,800 points in the money, but hey, that's the strategy. We follow it, we don't judge it. We know that it makes money. So yeah, it might give a short trigger in the next day or two, which would be fantastic. Then we can maybe get short again. Until then, we wait. At the moment, we do have live or open trade on Mustache, which is a long position. So this is the long that we are in on Mustache at the moment. Basically, the plan here is to have a hard stop at 28.60. If it reaches 28.60, then we stop out. If we get the stop distance into the money, then we switch to a trailing stop loss. And we give it the time and space it needs to rally. So this chart is actually looking pretty good. It looks like we had a bit of a false breakout of the downward sloping channel here, down with a test of previous support, and it seems to have broken out again. I'm hoping this is not another false breakout. If it is, then I'll have to change my trend line to be over there. But for now, I'm sticking to the original channel and the original view, unless we obviously see a bit of resistance here and it doesn't manage to break sort of the highs that it made on, what was this, the 16th. If it doesn't manage to get above those highs, then I might have to consider that I've got my channel lines drawn in wrong. But for now, I've got a long position open here based on what I think is a bull flag formation. It's a bit, you can take out the central line if you want, but in general, it does look like a bull flag to me. Right, so Stephen, since you're the only one that has said yes so far, have you got any stocks that you want me to look at? We can go through a whole bunch of things. We had an AGL trade as well. a little while ago. Well, I closed it yesterday actually. So the target was at or near 330. It made it up all the way to what 327, what was the high 327.25. Didn't take the money. The next day after that as well, and then yesterday obviously we saw that massive dump. So I then eventually closed it in the closing auction yesterday. So it's still a fairly healthy profit. We got in, I think at 280 was the entry, so it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. Decent trade. I'm just going to check my trade logger here. Entry was 281, so it was a decent trade. It's a bit disappointing that we lost $30 essentially in the end, $25 or whatever it was. But overall, still a fairly profitable trade. I think the trend is still up, but what we've been seeing in terms of global markets looking like they might be rolling over a little bit. I might not. I'm too comfortable to stay long and then wait another couple of weeks for the trade to find the hit target. All right, ANH. Let's look at ANH. Not the most liquid of stocks in the whole wide world. I'm assuming that you own this on equity. So we obviously know that it listed here. Since then it hasn't been performing too well. I mean, the trend is proper down. Proper down in this. And you could probably just try and identify a potential trend line here. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not so bullish in what I'm seeing here. So that's a potential little channel that it's trading in. Standing out for me here is nothing really. We've got maybe a bit of potential divergence, but it's so little that it hardly counts. So just to tell you what I'm looking for, like the divergence. So it doesn't appear to me like there's a potential turnaround here. For now, it seems the trend is very strongly down. 721 moving average is also crossed bearish and hasn't looked up. So for now, maybe a move back up to the top of the trend line. You can't really short it because you can't get CFD on it. So I would stay away for now. I mean, a break of this trend line could potentially be a long, but for now, I mean, lower highs, lower lows, pretty straight shot really. Not something that I would want to be long at this stage. I don't know, how is that? I noticed there were one or two lag spikes. I don't know how much of it you missed. I can do it again if you like. Let me know. Video output is low. I don't understand why. Let me check something here. Fine, man. There we go. It's fine. I got most of it video quality fluctuated there. Oh, okay, cool. All right, so yeah, it seems to be fine again now. I do have somewhat decent uploadability here, so it should be fine. Anything else that you want to look at? I know that some of the guys in the Arena chat have been looking at this, that life healthcare for quite a bit. Let's see if they are asking anything. No, not that yet. Okay. So life healthcare is hard for me because I'm trying to go long life. But so it's a bit messy. But this is a daily chart, right? Obviously the trend is very clearly down. BVT. Oh, let's look at BVT. BVT. CFB. Sure. Okay. More stock split. Okay, so right, let's have a look. We can put in a horizontal line there because that is support, and we're going to copy it and put it up there because that appears to be resistance. So I'm going to check this thing. I wonder if I should change the resolution. Yeah, okay. It's being temperamental. I don't know why, but whatever. We're going on. So Bidvest, this actually looks pretty good for long, to be honest with you. I think you've got a very high probability setup here. Here we do have bullish divergence, so you can see we made this low here, which corresponds with the low on our stochastic. And then this low is pretty much the same level, so it's almost a double bottom, you call it that, okay, give or take some slippage. But this low here is significantly lower than this one here, so that is bullish divergence on the stochastic oscillator. So that to me is something, I guess, that makes me feel like a long could potentially be safe here. The trend is also up over the last period, so we're looking at sort of November-ish last year to now. There was a big stock split over here, so we're just going to ignore that. But you can see since that stock split, there's been a pretty decent upward trend with this, so it's feeling like the trend is trading higher, which is obviously what you want to try and do, is to trade with the trend. Plus you've got a proper setup here. Today's candle is looking, I mean, it's just basically a doji, but doji is not necessarily the strongest reversal signal, but it is a reversal signal nonetheless. So you can consider perhaps putting on a long position here with a stop loss below this low. So that low would be, let's just zoom in and have a look at it. So that low here is what, 212.26. So you say your stop loss below 212 as a potential stop. I'm just going to draw that in. There's 212. And then your target price is the upper end of this range. So it's not necessarily the strongest buy signal at this stage. You would want to have three things happen to really confirm a very strong buy, but which is essentially drawing this trend line. We're going to make it look fancy. Sure, my computer is very slow because of this streaming business, whatever. So there's our little trend line. Got to keep an eye on the ZAR for emerging market blowout. Alright, so a break of this trend line and a reversal off this support level, I'm going to make this nice and thick also, would probably be your long entry trigger. So you're looking for a daily close above this level. If we don't break this level, I wouldn't take a long position here. But if we do, then you have a very high probability setup. So let's say, for example, it breaks and it comes up to 220. You've got potentially 25 rands worth of upside for, you know, like 10 rand or 13, 8 rand or whatever, 8 to 10, 12 rand sort of downside, depending on where the candle closes on the break of this trend line, and that could potentially get you long all the way up here to 245, 246 in that region. Probably 245 would be the safer bet. I don't know if that satisfies. Let me know. I'm going to move on to PSG in the meantime. Look, the risk here is that this channel, just to finish up in Bidvest, is that this channel doesn't hold and we break out the bottom, in which case it's then a pretty clear short, because this top area here does look like a distribution pattern, right? It's struggling to get higher, but it could be consolidating to trade higher, as it could be consolidating to turn around. So we don't know which direction that consolidation takes place. So we literally just have to watch it. If we get a close below this thick blue line at the bottom here, which is at, well, what is the level? 213 or whatever. 214, right? 213.90, 214. So if we get a close kind of below that area and the daily candle closes below that, I would look to short the stock. And then you could probably do a stop loss in the middle of the range. Just put that line on. So the middle of the range is approximately there. So your stop loss would be at 230, and then your target would be the size of the range, which is, what is that, 30 bucks. So you've got 15 Rand of risk for 30 Rands worth of reward if the short triggers. Alternatively, if this pink line breaks, you could take a long position up to the top here, and you stop below the low of this candle that it's making today. Looking at PSG, this one is tough because, you know, I'm not very bullish on Capitec. Now, as you can see here from historic analysis left on the chart, I had a short idea here, which obviously didn't work. It tagged me out, which is a bit unfortunate. But the idea here was that a break of this level on a daily close would trigger a short trade down to 140. So the basic premise here is that you're trading something called an ABC pattern. So you 0 here, A at the bottom of this, B at the top of your the highest point in the consolidation, and project down to C. So it didn't work. But in general, I'm still somewhat bearish this stock because of the Capitec overhang. But it's good to remove all the previous annotations and do a completely fresh chart so that we don't have biases. So I'm actually going to switch to weekly here just to get a feel for what the longer term trend is. Data. Okay. So the longer term trend is obviously up. PSG has been a fantastic stock. However, if we look since sort of, what is this, 2016-ish, 2015, late 2015 to 2016, we haven't really made any progress in the last 2 years, which is a little bit concerning. So from a longer term trading perspective, this is considered to be a distribution pattern. So we've got this long run up that we've had. I'm going to use a different charting thing so that we get investing.com, so that we get a better idea of what the longer term sort of situations of PSGJ. And NetBank, we'll look at NetBank even. Thank you guys for joining. Never done this before, so I don't know if I'm any good at it, but whatever, we'll see. Navigating websites. So this streaming software chows a lot of processing power by the look of things because this computer is so slow. Alright, okay, candle chart. I'm going to zoom out. Bang. Alright, okay, so let's look at history. We see this thing has run really very hard over the last like 2 decades almost, right? So this is definitely then starting to be what I would consider to be a distribution pattern. So because we've had this really strong trend for a good couple of years, and the last sort of 2-3 years we've not really been going anywhere, it seems as though the market is struggling to see longer term growth and longer term value in the company, which is a bit concerning. So it doesn't necessarily mean that PSG is the end of the world. It's just a chart, right? But we have to stick to what the charts are telling us, and from that perspective, it makes me a little weary to continue to be super long biased. Plus, we can't look at PSG without looking at Cap, because Capitec is obviously a very big influencer on PSG. So weakness coming into this. So from a just sort of pure trend following perspective, guys, I'm going to stop, reduce the resolution, and then start again, because I think that maybe I'm trying to stream in HD here and it's causing a bit of lag. So I'm going to stop it quickly and then I'm going to come back. So give me just 1 second. Okay, so that should be a bit better. It looks like I haven't lost too many guys. Stream is continuing. Sure. I don't know, is that resolution too bad, guys? Tell me what you think. If it's too low, I can put it up a little bit. It looks like it's too low. Oh wait, here we go. Switching over. No. Ah, there we go. Okay, it's not so bad. Okay. Slowing it up, Petrus. Thanks, Jez. Okay, so the resolution is a bit lower, so it should be fine. Well, let's have a look. So Capitec to me feels like it's probably going to be like a short at some point, right? So let's switch to a daily chart from weekly. Get a bit more data. So what I'm really sort of looking for here is a break of a trend line in order to get short. Also, I think there's results out, but that to me over there looks like it could be the trigger, right? Now I haven't taken a position yet because I'm waiting for essentially Friday to pass, and then maybe on Monday I'll consider taking a short position on Capitec, especially if the US markets and our market continues to roll over. So looking at PSG, the picture doesn't look exactly the same, but for now it does appear that we have this sort of support level here. So it's fairly similar. So we've got support over there, and then I'm going to draw in this trend line here. Now, obviously, this is open to interpretation. So my interpretation of this is bearish because I do have a bias. But to me, that looks like a flat bottom triangle, which bodes bearish. Usually, we've got nothing really that stands out here in terms of the stochastic. We have a higher low and a lower low, which is relatively in this scenario, but as we can see, that failed with this big sort of, not quite engulfing candle, but big sort of bearish push down that we saw in the last couple of days, and a fairly violent bounce over the last 3 days. So overall though, I'd be very careful taking long positions here. I think perhaps if you could take out a previous resistance level, then there could be space for upside. So we can even put in this level here. And we can see this is quite a significant trend line, so I'm going to make it nice and thick. 4. Because here it sort of spent a few days around the trend line. Here it smashed through, although it got up, it stopped there, rallied up. Around here, we traded up and down, above and below this level for a whole bunch of days here, like a really very long time. We traded up, bounced off of it, came down, found support, bounced off, came down, found support, and then on essentially, what was the Capitec Viceroy report, we traded down below, far below the level, but managed to close above it. The next day, started below it, went up to see whether or not there's, this 207 level If we get a convincing sort of daily close below 207, I would say we have a short on our hands. Then what do we have next? We go to Nedbank, CFD, and then after that MTN. Okay, Nedbank, boom. Stands out is a potential trading at the moment. So for me, again, this looks like it could be somewhat bearish. I've been very bullish on banks for a long time, but if you look at some of the others as well, FirstRand has also started giving, like FirstRand's already rolled over. There was this consolidation. I tried to get long of it on this break. Plus we had this little takeout, so it really felt like it was going to go. And then, it stopped me out here. It makes you feel like a fool for a bit, but it shows you, okay, no, you're actually completely on the right side. I did try to buy it here. I got a call from Nigeria. Thank you, but I'll answer you later. I did try to buy it once or twice here when it got down to this below 65 level, but it didn't, because that was a fairly big support, but it didn't work so obviously this thing eventually broke out. So as with one, so with the others, we look at BGA, this looks a bit like a head and shoulders that is breaking or has broken. We look at Standard Bank, we see sort of a similar sort of rolling over pattern, fresh lows. So looking at Nedbank as well, we can see like, okay, it hasn't necessarily made fresh lows yet, maybe it's lagging a bit, but for me this definitely does look like a potential short trade. To try and find a trade, let's see, that is not finished yet, so we can't look at that. To find a trade here, I suppose you could say that your trigger would be a break of this level to keep it really safe, and you could stop loss on this moving average over here. Would probably work. The safest way possible would probably be to put your stop loss at 308 or 310. But I don't know if that's necessarily sort of required, because I think that this thing could potentially come down quite a bit more. And if we roll over and it comes, we could look at, what's this level here, 245. So for me, this actually looks like a fairly decent short. We'd have to keep watching the rand and that kind of stuff. I'm just going to have a look at what is happening here in the outside world. Right now, I mean, the Aussie is trading down some 200 points or almost 0.5%. The rand's a bit stronger, and what's concerning is that these banks aren't getting up on the stronger rand. So it does feel like there's a little bit of emerging market sort of risk-off sentiment, and Nedbank has, I think, the potential to be a fairly decent short. Let me know your thoughts. I don't know. I'd love to hear it. If you have a different view or whatever on any other charts or any other charts that you've done, please let me know. Obviously, this is just one perspective. It's not necessarily how the market's going to play out. MTN, this does not look sexy. Yeah, I mean, if you're not in the short here, then it's going to be really decent, I guess. That was a support box that I drew in a couple of years ago. So the trend is down. Sorry, I'm going to keep my neck. It's gross. Oh, you're thinking the same. All right, great stuff. Okay, so the first stands out here is that the trend is down. We've got nice lower highs, lower lows from the period of since inception. We start at the top left, we end at the bottom right. Well, not quite, but mostly. So for now, I think that what probably is happening here, we're going to have to ignore some of the previous data, but we're going to say that that is a resistance sort of level, and that is a support level. We had this kind of fake breakout situation happening here, but we can see that here again 135 was a very strong. That looks pretty normal. See, like this is bearish divergence. Okay, so there we have a high, and there we have a lower high, and here we have a high, and we have a higher high. So that's bearish divergence. and it seems to me as if we're heading to the bottom of this trend line. I mean, there's no real high risk reward or high probability trade that you can put on here, so I wouldn't necessarily look for an entry here. I think the trick would be to wait for it to hit support, see if support holds. If it does, potentially look for a long if there's a trigger. Alternatively, if that 106/107 level breaks, that could be a short from there. Right. I am seeing is that the string quality is low. So I wonder if you guys got any of that. Okay, what else, guys? Let me know if you have questions. If there's stuff that you missed, you want me to go through again, I'll gladly do it. I'm going to actually just change a few things here. Yeah, close a whole bunch of windows and our applications. So that it frees up some memory for this thing. Okay. Yes. The big spread. All right. Any other charts you want me to look at? Any questions? Any comments on the stuff that I have looked at? Let me know. Let's have a look at RTFG. They just put out a trading statement. See, the thing is, some of these things are also starting to approach support levels. I don't know if it's wise to be too bearish, you know. Because it might not be the best idea. We can look at the Aussie as well. Oh, I suppose we started with the Aussie. JCSL, nice brush. Is up. Massmart. Hey, Giuliano. Hey, what a legend. Ha! The old puking camel, eh, Jules? Yeah, well, I don't know. You look for support at 103, I guess. This was historic support, which we're below. Let's have a look. This is a level here. I mean, if you're really brave, you could buy some and look for it to close above the support level. But they put out a really terrible sort of update this morning, which is why we're seeing this massive dump. So maybe this could be a precursor for what happens in the rest of the retailing space. So maybe it's not such a bad idea to look for shorts in some of the other retailers, because if Massmart's update was so bad, you know, it's reasonable to assume that the rest of them are going to be pretty bad as well. This is really hard to call though, because I think that the only real hope that we have here is this support level at the bottom, which is 103, and that is a mighty far way down. This is a big sort of a high volume dump as well, so it's not looking very good. The problem is there's no potential entry here for a CFD trade. You know, there's no high probability setup, which is concerning. So how do you manage your risk? I suppose what you could do is you could potentially go short here and stop loss at 125, but with intraday volatility, and you might be taken out within a couple of minutes. So I'm not sure if it's worth the risk. Thoughts on where to cover shorts on Bulletin, and I'm going to look at Kumba as well. Where to cover shorts on Bulletin. Red moving average 281, 282 would be potentially, that would be the first support, I suppose. It's a bit worrying that we've got reducing volume. I mean, yesterday we had pretty decent volume on the dump down. Today it's not done yet, so I don't know what the volume is like for now. But I think your first support call would be this high here, which coincides with your, put in the wrong place, would be in this area here, which because that's convergence of support, right? So it's previous resistance level, which is probably going to be support. Plus you've got the red moving average there, which is the 21 moving average. That could be a good place to cover shorts. Alternatively, if it does break down through that, then you might have a longer term short trade. But the trend is very strongly up here, and I wouldn't want to be short for too long, is my view. Let me know what you think, Fabio. And look, Kumba looks pretty good to me, actually. This is something that I've been trying to get long. So we actually have had this breakout in the long. I never took it, I will admit. But this is sort of technically a long trade, right? Provided that emerging market commodities don't melt down. What concerns me is that we are starting to see a bit of a roller of the stochastic and a move down through 80. So if we see this support level here, which is our 21 moving average, if we see that get taken out, which is very likely, then we probably might have another leg down and a test of this level here that I drew in the past. This was kind of like this box that I drew in here would be my ideal position or ideal space to start building along. Never got all the way down there. We had this this support level here. We can draw it in. That held fairly well. There was one close below it, but it was a fakie. So I'd say for now do nothing unless we get around this this 269.50, 270 level again. Could maybe try and buy it off there and look for the highs, but failing that, then I think it's potentially a short. So for now, it's a bit dicey. I don't see anything that's like really clear. From a real strict perspective, you've got a couple of things that happened. You've got a breakout of the bear channel. You've got stochastic that moved up pretty nicely through 50, so that 50 level is usually pretty important. So that's moved up nicely through 50. The stochastic can bounce here at the top for a long period of time, and the stock can keep trading up. So we don't necessarily see this as too much of a bearish signal. So the brave trade here is to actually be long, to tell you the truth, in the face of all the other fundamental stuff that might scare you out the trade. Fabio says that he was thinking 285/280 on Bulletin. That's pretty much the same as what I was thinking. 280, 285 is there, so that's in this sort of zone there. So that's kind of between the high and the support there. So I think that's probably a good space to start looking at closing stuff. I mean, oil is coming down a little bit, so it's a bit of pressure on commodities, not too much, but a little bit, and the rand keeps strengthening, and the US keeps trading down. US futures down now at the moment as well. So I think that perhaps this is going to keep working, keep trending down from now, which makes me wary of getting long Kumba, right? But yeah, I mean, it depends entirely on your outlook and stuff. Let's just refresh that because the candle doesn't always refresh. So I don't know. Yeah, maybe wait for the break of this 270 and try get short of Kumba for now. This long idea I think might not work, but I don't know. Time will tell. So no trade. If it's not very clear and obvious what to do, don't trade. That's what I say. Because I know Pamela was asking about Kumba. Right, anything else, guys? I think we've been going for, we'll give it another 15 or so minutes. And then we see what happens. Sure, time goes quickly. It's like 45 minutes already. Wow. It's pretty insane, man. Kumba. Look at the first round. I love the first round. First round is my favorite stock. Refresh. I mean, it looks dead though, right? It is dead. Below 60, I think. It's definitely a shot on this thing. Alright, Sappy. Let's look at Sappy. Back to $80, or back to $80. It could, yeah. I mean, it could. It feels as though this is a bit of a rounding bottom, but the trend is down. If you look over the last year or so, so your bias should be towards the short, and we've got this sort of like consolidatory type of stuff happening at the top of the stochastic. That was a pretty decent buy signal, I guess, but I mean, trying to get out with things, so you probably would, if you did end up getting long here, you might have been stopped out. This was 2 power days. Wow. Let's actually draw some lines here, because that is going to be support for it. So if it breaks this 83, what is that, 83.30, 83.50, 83.30, if it breaks that level, I think maybe it comes back down to $80. It's possible. Maybe not exactly 80, but sort of close to that range. I mean, you see it's got long tails and wicks, so it does sometimes slip big through levels. And AMG. I mean, yeah. Short. There's nothing else to say. I mean, I'm not. This is a fairly clear downtrend. Look, I mean, I'll admit. So if you look at AMG, and I know Impala is not a gold miner, but I've thought of going along this thing at times, looking for this like falling wedge to break, or looking for this trend to change, and then you see like a trigger, and you get like a snap, and you think that's it. But I mean, in truth, this thing is just absolutely getting hammered, and AMG has a very similar look and feel to its chart. So I don't think there's any way that you can be looking for a long position here unless you get a clear buy signal. But you might have had one here. That trend line broke. You had a buy signal. You had a massive move that could have been. You got almost close to up, and be safe, But for now, the risk is that you sell this thing and it pops up. Like, I think what you could do is probably stop loss at the bottom of this. What used to be support is now going to become resistance. So this is what, 106.30. So call it 106.50. You could use as a stop loss. So if you break above this level, then you'd want to close if you are currently short. Alternatively, hang on if you are short, because this break of this level was actually your short trigger that you could go down. So for now, it seems the trend is very, very, very strong on the negative side here, and you can't be long up the stock. Well, that's my view. Anyone else has an opposing view, please let me know. I am very open to debate. Obviously, that's how we learn, right? So unless somebody disagrees with me, I'm never going to be able to see the other side of the coin. So yeah, I feel like playing music, but it's going to do this infinite loop business, which is going to be really weird. So what I'll do next time is I'll play music through my earphones, so that it doesn't play into the microphone. and cause all sorts of untold weird noises and alien sounds. All right, okay, guys. Yeah, any sort of last takers on a chart you would like for me to look at, or anyone want me to go back to the chart that I've looked at already and look at it a bit more carefully, or look at it again, or perhaps explain something that you don't understand, or point out something that I might have missed. Anything like that would be fantastic. In the meantime, I hope for a short entry on this Aussie. Simon and I have been trading this daily Aussie strategy together. So it's his system that he gives signals for on the Arena thing, on the Trade Ideas thing, and yeah, so far it's been doing pretty good. We've made 1,500 points so far for the year, so it's not bad. This would have been a lot more if we, but because this trade was up like huge, but we ended up walking out. So I got 105 points out. I think he got 100 and maybe just 100. I don't know. So it wasn't a bad trade, and I think this thing is going to trigger a short soon. So it's kind of scary to sometimes short these things or to take the trades, especially because the volatility on that or on the instrument is pretty big. So the stop losses are based on volatility. So you assume a ton of risk, and then it's a bit disappointing if you walk out with only 100 points. But we've seen over the long term this strategy does pretty well. And I'll be honest with you, yeah, it does feel like short is definitely the right place. The market has been struggling a little bit over the last couple of weeks, and I'm always the one to be optimistic, but you don't necessarily always have, optimism isn't always right. So we'll probably be short this thing in the next couple of days. HCA users will know when that is. I'll probably put it on Twitter or so. Exaro. All right, let's look at. I shouldn't eat things. Alrighty, refresh. Okay. Sure. As you can see here, is a failed attempt at a long. Alright, let's go a little bit better. So you could see in the beginning, sort of February-ish, where my thought was at. So what happened here was actually the mining charter thing was pulled back, or implementation was delayed. So I had this whole thing of if these things open up really flippin' strong, then you'd want to see a break here and a continuation. And they opened strong, but they didn't quite open as strong as what I'd anticipated. So it didn't really play out as such. So I never actually got involved. So let's take away the bias by taking away the previous charting stuffs. So okay, so let's look a bit further back. Again, we have an uptrend situation. We have an uptrend situation over the last year or so. But most recently, since the beginning of the year, it has not been looking so good. So a few things are standing out here. We've got these long wicks. There's one proper close, but we've got a couple of long wicks. So this is telling me that this level, and here we've got long wicks through the bottom. So this is telling me that this level is pretty significant and pretty important, and the market's been trying to get it above there for some time. So you could have a potentially high probability setup here, and we're going to assume that over the most recent period the trend is a little down, and given the sort of narrative that we've got a potential pullback on the horizon, and also this whole Trump trade war thing potentially coming to an end was ironically pretty good for commodity prices and so on. So I think that if we see softer commodity prices, that we might have to look for short positions in some of these commodity stocks. So Xaro is dangerous to trade in the sense that it's sometimes a little liquid, so it can move really, really big, really, really quickly. And if you're on the wrong side, you're going to get hurt, right? But for me, what this looks like is, given the fact that we have these like really long wicks on the candles, I would say that a stop loss, that a daily close below 122.80, so you make it safe, you say 122.50, a daily close below 122.50 would trigger a short position with a stop loss at the top of these highs. So I'm going to remove this line and I'm going to draw in a new one. So at the top of these highs with a little bit of slippage, so you're going to say 129.36. It's a nice well, it's even, but it's not like a round number. It's not like 129.50 or 129 flat. Sometimes they go through the round levels just to mess with the stop losses. So I would say that you could potentially look for a short here. And then if you are short, there's no reason to not use a trailing stop. You could target this bottom level, which is 104, as your initial target. But down through there, if we see a proper downtrend here, then you might want to stay short for a little while. So I'd say, yeah, be careful of the pop back up here, but a close below this 123 or 122.50. Close below that level, I think would be worth a short with a stop loss there. So you've got not a lot of risk for like $20 worth of downside, and you've got what is that? It's about 7 rands risk for like 18 rand upside. So it's better than 1 to 2, which is great. So that's kind of what I'm thinking there. We also have nothing really stands out in the stochastic. Maybe that we have lower. This is a high. This is a high. This is a high, and this is a. It's a lower high, and this is a higher high. So that is bearish divergence. So we will draw in that trend line. It's actually quite safe to be on the short side here on Xaro. That's what I'm thinking. Any questions? We got about 3 minutes left. In 3 minutes, I think we've been going for an hour. And we're going to make some coffee. Anything else? I'm going to try to do these also, I'm going to try to do these types of things like once a week or whatever, if you guys enjoy them. It would be nice to, it's good for me because it generates trade ideas. It's good for me to go through the market and look at things that I don't usually look at, or that I might not usually look at. The market is big, you can't keep an eye on all of it. So it's good to like survey the landscape every now and then, so that'll be fantastic. And if you guys can like learn some stuff, that's even better. Or even if you're not looking to learn stuff, you just want a different view to what you have, then that'll be great as well. So I'm going to try and do these once a week. See what happens, man. Maybe you guys don't like it, and then I stop doing it. And if you guys do like it, then I keep doing it. These videos will be up on YouTube as well as I'll embed them on my website. So you'll be able to watch them whenever you want. And yeah, subscribe, I guess. Leave comments, tell me what you think. If you have any sort of ideas or stuff that you think will be helpful, let me know what you think down below, and I will try in the comments below. Yeah, I'll try and do as best as I can, I guess. I'm monologuing like a champ now, so yeah. Alright, well anyway, thank you guys for joining. I hope you enjoyed it, and I shall chat to you again later. And we're gonna go bye!